at COG Connected, we're only human. Throw a bunch of pixels and polygons our way, and we're likely to sit there, mouths agape, analyzing every last detail. But in our minds, there are two kinds of beauty in games. There's the art design aspect, but there's also more technical wizardry that's impressive not because it looks nice, though it probably does anyway, but because it's well constructed, hard to pull off, or maybe totally new. With that distinction out of the way, here are the 10 best looking games of 2020. Number 10, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Call of Duty strides confidently into the next generation with a really fantastic looking adventure, especially in the single player campaign. Character models like Adler look even better this time around, and you can't argue with the technical performance of the game. 4K 60 frames per second with ray trace shadows on the next gen consoles, and an insane 4K 120 frames per second mode if you can afford a TV with HDMI 2.1. Light and shadow has always been a strength for Call of Duty games, and the ray tracing implementation here is a big step forward. Playing Chopper Gunner in Fracture Jaw is liable to do just that. Your jaw is likely to drop that hard. Number 9, Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima might get props in other areas, but it's also a very technically impressive game. No, the textures aren't great in a lot of places, and the facial capture is a step below some of Sony's other heavy hitters, but the sheer amount of stuff going on in Ghost of Tsushima is staggering. Particles all over. It's flower petals, and sparks, and smoke, all reacting believably with the wind and the world. The trees and Jin's clothing are gorgeously rendered, and standing on top of a mountain with Jin's cloak blowing in the wind is phenomenally beautiful. The diversity of landscapes is worth a mention too. No wonder the people in Tsushima are just stopping all over the place to write haikus. Number 8, Resident Evil 3. This isn't likely to be on many of these lists, but Resident Evil 3 is a technical beast. Capcom's re-engine continues to churn out excellent results here with outstanding fire effects and damage physics. Few games have such detailed damage mapping as RE3, and it's frequently shocking just how gnarly the damage Jill and Carlos inflict can be. Speaking of our heroes, they look top-notch. Carlos's flow is the best of the year in our books. Resident Evil games are often paced to put the gorgeous crafting of the world on display, and RE3 doesn't disappoint there either. Props and models placed around the levels are super detailed. Performance is nothing to sneeze at either, running great even on base consoles and older PCs. Number 7, Half-Life ALYX. Valve has a legendary attention to detail, and Half-Life ALYX is no exception. It's the premier reason to own a VR headset, and for good reason. Where other games feel as though you're playing next to a green screen backdrop, Half-Life ALYX really pulls you into the world. Attention to detail is a big part of that, with every object exhibiting absolutely meticulous detail. From writing on the glass in the very first scene, to taking a close look at a can of soup, it all holds up to scrutiny. It makes ALYX's world feel incredibly lifelike and immersive. Characters are equally impressive, choosing a flamboyant animation style versus strict realism, and it really pulls players in. Number 6, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. What really needs to be said here? Flight Simulator 2020 is borderline photorealistic in plenty of situations. It takes the digital equivalent of Hercules to run smoothly, but for aviation nerds, this is practically nirvana. Utilizing real map and weather data, it's possible to truly live out your piloting dreams here. The things that you'll be looking closely at are of obscene fidelity, namely the planes. Inside, outside, it's all as close to real life as we've seen in a simulation. The skies are equally impressive, with dynamic and gameplay affecting cloud cover amongst some of the sharpest skyboxes in history. But the technical barrier to entry is high, and most mortal PCs deliver a slideshow experience. Number 5, Cyberpunk 2077. This pick comes with an enormous asterisk. Cyberpunk 2077 is a different game on a high-end PC, and undoubtedly one of the best-looking games of the year. Material and component quality is excellent, with highly detailed character models and absurdly intricate weapon designs. Animation is outstanding too when it works right, and the ray tracing implementation, have mercy. The neon-soaked world that is Night City is gorgeously lit and packs an obscene amount of reflective surfaces. If you can run it cranked up, Night City is truly a sight to behold. In honesty, it'd be higher up this list if the last-gen versions didn't look like hot trash. Number 4, Final Fantasy VII Remake. The remake is actually kind of a mixed bag visually. The characters look just like your nostalgia wants them to, and it's obvious where most of the rendering budget was spent. Skin in particular looks ridiculous, while our hero's eyes carry real depth. Some sequences like the Shinra building and the Mako reactors are absurdly detailed too, with a lot of attention paid to filling in the blanks from the original game. Sadly, the slums didn't quite get the same level of attention, with some muddier textures and low-res backdrops. Still, Final Fantasy VII Remake is a stunner at all the right moments. Number 3, Demon's Souls. Despite being a remake, Demon's Souls is one of the PlayStation 5's early jaw-droppers. The world From Software created over a decade ago on the PS3 has been meticulously rebuilt from the ground up in Demon's Souls, with stunning lighting effects and texture work that takes full advantage of PS5's giant pool of ultra-fast RAM. Light effects surfaces really convincingly, with gorgeous fire and particle effects. And despite the lack of ray tracing, Demon's Souls' atmosphere is second to none. It's true to the original vision, but it also takes artistic license in all the right ways. The scope and scale of each area is truly magnificent. If the goal was to create a world that'd be next to impossible to render on the PS4, put a big old check mark next to that line item. Number 2, The Last of Us Part 2. If you sat me down in front of The Last of Us Part 2 with no information about it and told me it was a PS5 game, I would believe you. Naughty Dog's tech chops are world-class. Characters are more lifelike than any game before. Subtle mood shifts and emotional cues are accurately reflected in the stunning 3D models, with hair, skin, and even mouths that are startlingly human. The gritty realism draws players into the story and extends far beyond just the characters. The world itself is absolutely pristine. Constructed to feel like a real space, Seattle is incredibly densely packed with rubble, overgrowth, and the remnants of the old world. It's mind-blowing top to bottom. May the gaming gods have mercy on us when Naughty Dog finally unleashes their wizards on the PlayStation 5. Number 1, Spider-Man Miles Morales. This was a no-question decision. Spider-Man Miles Morales is the game for showing off your new PS5. New York has received a massive upgrade in material quality, draw distance, and density. Now, the city's legendary bustle more closely resembles reality, and looking off into the distance no longer shows any pop-in. Character models have never been a problem, but they're even better now, especially their hair. Finn's bun is absurdly well done. And then there's the ray tracing. It's better than anybody expected it to be on these consoles, adding an incredible level of immersion to the proceedings. Most noticeable, it's not the giant shiny buildings, but the tiny details, like reflections in Genki's glasses and the spider suit's logo and metal bits. If anyone is still hanging on to the notion that games won't somehow look better in the next generation, sit them down for some time with Miles Morales. We think it's the best looking game of 2020.